Hey, Pops, are you ready for today's episode?
Yes, and we're going to look at the brutal years.
You had some of those, didn't you?
Oh, geez. It was a tough one to review some of the information for this, even just thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to go back there. But if you're starting a project, if you're planning to have a permaculture orchard, if you're planning any project, any business,
True.
you'll go through this. There are going to be brutal years. So I want to really help you go understand that there will be brutal years, understand how you can go through them easier, quicker, and how to lessen their brutality, if you like. So I'll give you a few tricks along the way, tips, and you're going to go, wow, this was well worth listening to. Because for us, our brutal years was about a 20-year span. 20 years of brutal years.
I think he's actually being generous. I would say it's probably closer to 25, but we'll go with 20.
20 was the most brutal of the brutal years. And how I really defined it was the whole period when we had monoculture organic orchard. That was about 15 years. And the first 5 years of replanting the permaculture orchard, those were brutal. I like to say that era was kind of an era. I remember feeling this is like a black hole. Have you ever seen those black holes in space where everything that's around it would just get sucked right into it? And that was really what that period was like. Any extra finances in the black hole. Anytime we'd see him, maybe we'll get ahead, black hole.
Hey, Pops, I really want that hockey jersey. No
the black
money,
hole
sorry.
had sucked it up.
But maybe a hot take, but I feel like it would just where you are now or where you've gotten wouldn't be the same if you didn't go through that. Like if you just got a handout, I'm saying.
No, absolutely. And I really did it when you say handout. I turned down possibilities. We could have had crop insurance. We could have had different things, which to me were just forms of handouts to help, to make it easier. I didn't want to be beholding to any government. I wanted to be able to look back and say, you know what? We did it. And we did it without, here's a... And I see so many of these programs, government programs, especially in farming, that, we'll help you with this. And then what happens? You see what's happening right now in France and in Europe, and Germany had it, where huge protests are happening.
Okay, I did see that, where they're like
spreading liquid manure onto the parliament buildings and everything else. Why? Because they've gotten so used to feeding from the government teats. And it's like, this is easy. They're like milk cows and they just keep feeding us. And they got onto it. And now when there's even the suggestion that, well, you know what? We're going to cut this program or that government incentive. Hey, you can't do that. We rely on it. Yeah, exactly. Why? Because their whole production systems have been geared to not to be the most, they're efficient. I shouldn't say not efficient, but they're not profit oriented, and they're certainly not looking at doing things in the least cost way or the lowest maintenance way. So it's afforded them the opportunity and the ability to gear up, equip, get set up with systems that are okay as long as nothing's disturbed. But hey, one thing we've seen is disturbances will happen. If you don't think, there's going to be a bad year, well, you're dreaming. There's going to be brutal years and sometimes more than one in a row. And so this whole thing about looking back and I didn't need it. Well, I shouldn't say I didn't need it. I didn't take it.
You didn't want it.
I didn't want it. And like you said, it really turned out for the better because, I'm thinking the maintenance course in the master class. That is, it's golden because
you've been through it. You did how many mistakes, and you're like,
well, a lot of them, all of them almost.
Editing that and then living through it, because when I was younger, I would see you. I always go back to the classic. Well, I want this. Well, I don't have the money for it, but we can make it. So it's different. I feel like you became super resourceful. Like I remember, I don't know, going through, you would get like, let's say wood pallets, and we would deconstruct the wood pallets. How many different things? I remember you used them for like the pens for the animals. You would reuse chicken wire. You would reuse all kinds of things because you just didn't have, like you were saying, the handouts.
Yeah, there was just no budget. So it's like, well, we have what we have. That's what we have, and let's make do with what we have.
And like I saw the evolution, because remember that first chicken pen?
Oh my God, that was...
I think he used, what was it, like cedar
posts and chicken wire.
And he'd be like, son, can you help me move and I don't know, I don't know how old I would have been, but I remember like, that was a struggle, man.
That was
like
heavy. But that was a good lesson. And as you said, the evolution of it, because that was the first prototype or the first version. And that was really using the idea of, let's just start. We don't have the perfect design. We don't have the right materials. Let's just start, because after the one season with that, and we raised a bunch of really great chickens and some guinea fowl in there. And it was like, okay, first we proved that doing that, the chickens, the quality of the meat by being moved regularly. Wow,
fresh grass,
it was great.
And bugs
They didn't get preyed upon. That's a second thing that helped. That batch didn't.
Okay.
Other batches did. And so it was proving. So I remember a friend of mine, Paul Maloney, he used to say, just do a quick test. And that was really what it is. Just what's the quickest test? Anything in farming, you think, well, that's a quick test. But a quick test is one season. You only have about 40 to maybe 60 seasons, if you're really fortunate, to test things or try things. And so the more variations of a test you can do, even in one season, the better it is. So that was the first proof. Right away the next year, I knew already, I don't want these. They're way too heavy. Let's change it around.
Yeah, and I remember you made them, you started adding wheels to it too.
Yeah.
But then that didn't work, so you went back. Like, that's what I'm saying. I was able to see the evolution, and that's it. You would tinker, you would try different things. But I remember getting back to the reusing. That was, I think, the first thing you switched up. You got rid of those big, heavy logs, and you went to like lighter wood, and then it was PVC pipes.
Yeah, that was too light, so you can go to extremes. We tried the PVC pipe, and that was okay in the summer, but over winter, with a load of snow on it, they just crushed. So we went back to electrometallic tubing, which is electrical tubing.
Yeah.
And that worked great. Bent that's super strong. And now we have about a simpler version as we can, which is basically 2 2x4s that are acting like skis and hoops joining the two. And that's it. No front, no back.
Yeah. Like my mom's able to move it by herself pretty much.
So. Well, even when we have members come and I have the little kids try, and it's like, 10-year-old can pull them. They're really easy.
Not those first ones. No way.
The first ones, even I would grunt, and it was like, okay, I don't want to do. And that's good to do something and realize, note down what you don't want to do anymore. What you say, I'm doing that. I don't want to do this. Because those are criteria for design. If you say, I don't want to be grunting, this has to weigh 30 pounds or less. That's a good criteria, because right away, well, you can't use this, and this because it weighs too much.
Or even as you're getting older, like, no offense there, but I don't think you could do some of the stuff that you used to be able to do when we were younger.
Yeah, I guess I can't. But you know what? I look at it, and just in reviewing for this podcast, I thought, wow. I mean, this is what the crux of it is, the learning journey as you do. And unfortunately, that's what contributes a lot to the brutal years, is because you're learning as you go. This episode is proudly brought to you by my very own masterclass. Use code POP250 to save $250 off the masterclass bundle. Masterclass contains 11 different courses that you can buy separately. However, the complete Masterclass has you covered from A to Z, and it's really my life's work. Masterclass is the ultimate tool to help you start a successful permaculture orchard or planting. Not sure about how to start, or maybe you've already started, but now you feel you're stuck. Purchasing the Masterclass gives you access to the VIP group, where you'll be able to meet other like-minded, very interesting permaculturists and bounce ideas off each other. The VIP group is where I spend most of my time answering questions, and it's never been easier to get in contact with me or ask me a question. Want to learn more? Go to permaculture.study and start each course today for free. Don't forget to use code POP250. It'll save you $250 off the Masterclass bundle. And now back to the episode. And that's really why I did the Masterclass, because I think, wow, I would not want to go through that again.
All over.
And if you could have a tool that I could help you with and that would really reduce that whole impact. And I mean, it always comes back to that. I mean, we'll see this on other episodes and how, you know what, the Masterclass was done for me of what I would have loved to have had, because I know, living back those ideas of, I was trading time for money. Mm-hmm. It comes back again and again and again. It's, you know, learning costs money, or it takes time.
Well, we see it all the time, right? Like we're in Canada, so it's a little different, but I see the education system over in the States, and you go to get a piece of paper and you end up in crazy amount of debt, hoping that by the time you finished, it's still something you're interested in. Because imagine you go through all that, you get your diploma, and then you're like, you know what? I want to do homesteading. That, not to say that that piece of paper won't contribute to anything, but that's it. It goes back to time versus money, right? Whereas there's so many online courses that or not even courses, just YouTube now, like the internet. Yep. If you're really into something or interested, you can find a way to find a lot of useful like material that's out there now.
Yeah, I think the easiest is just review what are you watching or listening to 100%. Or learning. Whatever is attracting your interest naturally, chances are that's something you're interested in.
And there's also chances that you could actually make an income off of it as well.
Yep.
Like I see it now too with like my friends. There's or the next generation. There's going to be a lot of trades that they're just not going to be able to fill.
Yep.
And there's so many people that wanted, when I was growing up, it was computer. But now they're stuck behind a computer and they don't like it. They want to be doing a job that they're using their hands. But now you're what? You're going to go back to school to get your, you know?
Like I think of it in terms of a trade. I've touched on electrical. I've touched on plumbing. I've touched on renovations. Those are just things you'll go through. Machinery repair, small tools repair. But probably the one that I could hire myself out as equivalent of a trade is irrigation. Because I've worked in irrigation for the 30 years. We've got the whole farm on the irrigation, and that's one that I've done it pretty well all. And yeah, I could go in and see, okay, yeah, that's the problem here and there, and just fix this or change that. But a lot of the maintenance, and you said the evolution as I'm getting older, I was always thinking, how could I do this 10 times faster? How could I do this 10 times cheaper? And with constantly focusing on that and looking at, okay, and it's avoided certain things. I mean, I can really remember being at that, it was actually like this, a junction in the road where it would divide up. And I thought, do I want to spend time learning how to spray? Do I want to learn about the sprayers, learn about calibrating sprayers, learn about mixing sprays, and I thought, you know what? That is so much learning to me that, first of all, doesn't interest me at all. And I'm thinking, I could do that. I could spend the time on that. Or I could take that time and spend it into what can I do to not have to spray? And in the end, that was that was that fork in the road. And I didn't. I still do a little bit of spraying with whey, but I have such a rinky-dink setup to spray that it's so forgiving. It's such a great thing to use, whey, which is a cheese byproduct. And it's like, that's all I don't want to know anything more than that. And it works for what I use. And most of what we do is avoiding having to spray. And in the end, that's paid off a lot, because once you solve those kind of problems, I always look at it as, okay, what's spraying like? The characteristic of it in maintenance. Well, it's every year. It's several times per year. Ooh, that starts to add up.
That's a lot of time.
Calculate, on a big year, I'll spray 6 times. And that's way under even the recommended amount of sprays in the year. But that, to me, that's a lot. That's plenty. And each one of those takes me about 6 to 8 hours, depending if there's any kind of breakage. So 6 to 8 hours, let's say 6 times 6 sprays. That's 36 hours. That's a week's work spraying.
That you could allocate to something else.
That you could do something else with. The same then comes with insecticide. Well, we've replaced probably the equivalent of an insecticide spray or 2 or 3 with traps. So each of the traps takes us a day to set out and bait and so on. So that's probably a 1-to-1 replacement.
Well, not each trap type, because you have 2.
Like this trap, which is the trap for apple maggots, and these, which are the codling moth traps.
And for those of you that can't see it, it's basically an oil can and a yellow piece of plastic with some red paint spray painted on to look like an apple.
Super easy. I mean, this trap here, this has had, this is probably version, I've stopped counting, but I guess it would be 8 or 9. Like,
yep, because that's like your pens. I remember.
That's like the pens.
Yeah.
First ones was yellow buckets cut into squares.
I do remember at one point, I guess, I don't know if that was a grant, but you had like made ones, like those big ones with the 3D looking.
Those weren't
apple.
made. Those were bought.
That's what I'm saying. So you had money at one point and you were like, okay, that's an important thing, so I'll use money on that. Or did you get a grant to do that one?
No, those were just, I got to try these. And so sometimes it was like, okay, you know what, the budget was low, but do some things.
So even after spending money, you still thought that I could make that and I could make it better?
Well, not that I could.
Or you couldn't reuse those?
I had to make them. Because the traps that he's talking about were larger yellow cards, and the cards were so flimsy. I remember thinking, this? You're going to have to be careful, because they were really, the yellow part was a very thin, it was almost like...
a little bit thicker than paper.
Yeah, kind of like the cover of a book. It was about that thick. It's really thin, and then there were these 2 half plastic globes that would click together on each side.
So it was like a 3D effect, yeah.
And they were $8 US, if I recall. $8 US, I thought, I want to put one per trio. We have, I don't even know how many we have, but we have
so what, you probably...
a few hundred trios.
Okay.
So...
it's a couple $1,000.
Yeah, there would be a lot of thousands. And they were so cheap. That was the main reason that it pushed me to develop these, because I said, those won't last. You know, I like to take the approach that if I'm going to spend time designing and building something, I want it to last, ideally, my lifetime. Like, I won't need to make another one of them. That was the idea with these traps. So the card itself became way thicker. It's 1/8 of an inch. Plexiglass, hard yellow plexiglass. And if you want to make them yourself, they're really easy to make. Well, really easy, relatively easy. And these actually, this one is an older version, which we simply cut out a fire engine red spray dot. So we spray a dot on this side and a dot on that side.
And that's supposed to represent an apple, I'm assuming?
And when you hold it far, it stands out. And that's the nice thing about these. You can't miss them. Because we've used just the plastic red spheres, which was the other highly recommended one that they use for scouting. And what got me thinking, no, this won't work, was maybe for scouting where you're doing 2-3 traps on a farm, whatever. Okay. But I was looking to mass trap. And if you've ever tried to clean this stuff that's put on it, which is tree tanglefoot, there's no way that you can easily clean a sphere. So I said, geez, this doesn't work well. And I saw that when we used the flat with the circle, we'd always get some of the glue on the yellow, and the insects would get caught on the yellow as much as they would on the red. So I thought, hey, they'll get caught on the yellow, and that's flat. That's not curved. I thought, I wonder. So we did, what did I say? A quick test. So we did a quick test, look around. What do we got? We got some yellow buckets, and we got some red buckets. So we just cut the red bucket and the yellow bucket, matched the curvature because they were both curved, and just glued them together, put the wire on it, and set it out in the tree and tried it. And I think I found one 2-3 years ago. I still found we had one of them. I don't like using them because they're curved and they're really rough. So we went to these in a few variations, and these have now been, actually at the beginning we even made them with a metal wire because metal will last longer, but it's not, because it's way too hard. The nice thing is you take a branch
and you bend it around
and you just wrap it. Like, it's easy to wrap and easy to unwrap.
And I'm assuming that wire doesn't break that easy either.
This one breaks easier than metal.
Okay.
But
I've never broken one.
Yeah. I mean, we break maybe out of a few hundred, maybe we break 3 or 5 a year.
Okay.
So for that, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll just change the wire up on a few for the difference on the metal, which is harder to bend, and it would rust. So it's like, no, this works way better. And we've done all the variations on it. We actually wrap them now with one layer of saran or a clear cellophane so that you see through it. And then we put the glue, the tanglefoot on it. When we're done the season, we just peel the cellophane off, garbage it, because the dirtiest job of this is cleaning this. I mean, you don't want to dress with your good clothes when you're doing this, whether you're applying it or taking it off. Anyway, these are all examples of, over the years, just do a quick test, try it out, look what you've got. You don't have to go buy something fancy, just try it. If it shows you, and it showed us with the bucket version, that, hey, these work, then let's try. How can we do it better?
Perfect.
Longer lasting. Yeah. The perfection of it, that's fine. If you can imagine the most perfect one, then great. Just imagine and do that. If you could do it right away, quick test, try it out. Because you really don't know until you actually try it. Is it going to work as well as you're thinking?
So like even trying, when you replanted the orchard, how did you choose, I guess, which apple tree you wanted to plant or which pear tree? Because again, he didn't have the money to go out and buy all kinds of trees.
We did our own nursery. We basically grew everything we could get our hands on. Okay. So it was like, it's not complicated if it'll grow here. And priority was ideally having them disease resistant. The quantity or the durability or how well it keeps, those weren't important. The important point was, could we get some?
And sorry to cut you off, but where would you, I'm sure everybody wants to know, where would you get them? It's not like you just go and dig them up and find them.
We dug up our own rootstock. So those, we had them at the base of the trees. There would be rootstock coming up. So you'd have your tree, and then beside the tree, out of the ground, there were places where branches were coming up. That was rootstock. So we would just, it's called striking. We basically pull them off or break them off the root because they grow up from the root. So those were the rootstock.
But this is apple you're talking about, right?
Yeah, for apple.
I remember all we had was apple.
Yeah.
So what, you had the organic orchard for how many years again before you started to...
15 before we replanted.
So I guess 15 years you could kind of see, okay, this kind of tree is good, this apple tree is good, this one no. But then you have apple, you have pear, you have plum. So I guess from
Cherry.
what I've known, I never knew you'd have enough money to go to a nursery and pay. I don't know how much it is per tree, but so how did you get the other ones?
The other ones was nice too, because you realize if you buy a tree and it costs anywhere between, let's say if you buy by the hundreds, you could probably get them. I don't know today what the prices are, but last time I saw it, the cheapest you could get in bundles of, whether it was 100 or 1,000, was $7.
Okay.
A tree grafted ready, or let's say $10, and goes up to, you buy one tree of a certain cultivar, you'll probably be paying $30, $35, $45, sometimes $50. You realize that the root stock that tree is grafted on probably costs you between 75 cents and $1.50, maybe $2 if you're buying it from a really small nursery. So the rootstock itself is not the big cost. The cost comes from putting a graft on it, letting that tree grow for 1 or 2 seasons. That's the big cost, and just profit. So the cost of a nursery being able to grow that and making enough money to sell it or resell it, because sometimes they'll sell it to a garden center that then resells it to you.
A customer, yeah.
So everybody has to make their margin or their cut in the whole process. So by us growing those trees, and the only thing we bought was some pear rootstock. Even for plums, we were able to get the ones that we use a lot now, Mount Royal plum, that were on their own root. So already they're trees that act as a rootstock because we could graft over them. But if we don't graft, they're already a really nice blue plum that you don't have to graft.
And now if you could go back knowing what you know now, how much quicker do you think you'd be able to do that?
Well, there wouldn't be much of a learning curve for the nursery, so that would help. I mean, we could, if we ordered rootstock right now, for example, we could have them first thing in the spring, and by August we would graft, and then we could have our tree a 1-year whip by the next fall. So if we started now, not this coming fall of this year, but the fall of next year. So within 2 years, we would have our trees. So let's say we were planning on putting in, because the last nursery we had about 7,000 trees. 7,000 trees, when you figure what's that worth, even if
let's
you
say
put
times
them,
7 or
even if you put them on average, because some of those would have been expensive just because they were so rare. The cultivars we had grafted on them, you couldn't find them. No, you looked in any catalog, you looked online, nobody's got them. So we were able to get them from collections as just a piece of scion, a piece of wood. So those went a long way to producing a few trees. So let's say an average of just $20 per tree times 7, do the math. So you think, wow, I could pay $100,000 to buy enough trees, or I could just get on the phone, get on the email, and order some rootstock. And the size, the space, remember the first nursery, it was
well, that's kind of
like
what I wanted to bring up too, the fact that you're saying how you do iterations. How many times did it take you to redo that nursery?
Yeah, that was the 3rd time we had to redo it.
Yeah. So imagine.
And each time with thousands of trees that we had growing ready.
Yes. And then
that was well, those were brutal. That was brutal.
Yes.
That was the brutal part.
Which, well, I guess we should give a little bit of context, because going back with time versus money again, you didn't have money to hire somebody.
Right.
So I remember when we were younger, almost every year or every other year, you would have like a new apprentice that you would introduce us to. And I remember one of the ones, even for me, that was really impactful was Jean-Francois, who was one of your students.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to continue learning. So I guess you guys came to an agreement where you would teach him, and in return, he would come and help you.
Yeah, the deal with Jean-Francois was simple. I said, look, I don't have money to hire you. He says, I'm not looking for money. He says, I just want to learn from you. So that was the first thing. So if ever you want to be an intern or you say, I'd like to learn, don't look for money because you don't realize, but the information you're getting
100%
is worth, you should be paying the person to intern if it's worthwhile internship. I'm not saying.
And now it's funny because I get all kinds of emails from people from all over the world wanting to come and do this with you. But this guy, Jean-Francois, was like, I don't know if he was your first, but like I said, the first one that I remember that
he wasn't the
around.
first, but he was the first who I've had interns before. To me, an intern is somebody who does at least 2 months.
Okay.
And 2 months is where I look at it as it just stops being a cost for me.
Okay.
I'm no longer having to subsidize because in the 3rd month, most interns should be enough self-aware and know what's going on, and they can just save me time and money.
They just go and do.
Jean-Francois was he started as an intern, but he really became an apprentice. So an apprenticeship to me is at least a year, and Jean-Francois was there for parts of 5 years. But he was there really a lot for 2.5 years. So what happens is, to apprentice, you do the whole cycle. So you do from spring to fall, which is semi-normal. But then he'd come back in the winter when we do pruning. And so we did that cycle at least 2 times complete. And then he came back at least doing the nursery part for a few years. Mm-hmm. So we started off, and the deal with him was simple. I said, look, I can't pay you, but I have the space. I have the rootstock. I'll show you what's needed to do a nursery. And if you want to put in the work, we'll split all the trees half-half.
Okay.
So what he wanted to end up in the end with enough trees to plant his own orchard. And that's his long-term goal for being and helping me. Mm-hmm. And he left with, the last orchard in the end, we had 7,000, so about 3,500 trees.
Jeez.
And I remember when he was putting in some proposal, and it was like, well, what are you bringing to the table in this proposal? And he says, well, 3,500 trees at $20 a tree, I come in with $70,000 into the project. Mm-hmm. And it was like, he says, you don't realize, but there's a bunch of these trees that you couldn't find anyway. And so that was the start for me to replant the orchard, and it was the start for him to replant his orchard.
Or to start his orchard, which is actually pretty impressive.
Which is even his is.
I'd love to go and actually film and do a YouTube episode on that.
We should do that because that orchard now is well advanced. Unfortunately, Jean-Francois is not with us anymore, but his orchard remains. So it's something to...
So that too then goes back to the time versus money. If you don't have necessarily the money, there's always going to be a way. So for you, it was, okay, come, I'll teach you.
Yeah.
And on top of that, to sweeten the pot, if you're really dedicated, I'll split 50-50.
Yeah. And I did that with Jean-Francois, and I did it with Antoine. He also wanted to have trees. And he was in a really interesting condition because he wanted to plant trees basically at the furthest north you could in Quebec. And it was zone 3. Zone 2, because he's in Abitibi. It was a really tough climate. So he grafted 250 cultivars of apples. He wanted to just do apples because it's like, I don't know if anything else would really grow. So he did, I don't know what the results of that is now, actually. A lot of these going through, I thought, I'd love to do, we should, do some trips to follow up and see, because there's different stages of how far advanced they are. Mm-hmm. Like James is probably the one that I've been in touch with the most. He's in Missoula, Montana, and his orchard, last I saw, was doing really well. It was flowering,
and okay.
So it's producing, and so there is and that's what makes up part of the brutal years is being able in the beginning. It's money out, because as opposed to a lot of farming where you plant it in the spring and you harvest it partway through the summer. If you're doing vegetables, you plant in the spring, and sometime in the summer you're already harvesting, or at most in the fall. Not many crops are 2-year cycle, but then you get into 2 years, and then it's things like raspberries and strawberries. You could plant the first spring and harvest already by the next year. So that's a 2-year cycle. That's already kind of, wow, that's long, because you're not getting money coming in for those 2 years. It's money going out. And when you get into trees, if you don't already have trees that are already producing you some cash flow, then you're starting from scratch. And trees, it's 3 to 5 years before you're really getting some crop that are starting to pay the bills. So that's what makes up the brutal years. And so many lessons, like to have torn out the organic orchard to replant while the organic orchard was fully mature and producing, that was a big mistake.
I can imagine, because again, how old would I have been? I would have been pretty young.
You were in high school, because remember the last year?
Yes, I helped you replant the now.
You were especially there the year we were pulling out. So
yeah,
pulling out rootstocks. And
so again, for context, when we were younger, we never took vacations. Like my friends would go to Disneyland, and everybody would have like, I don't know.
We did go on vacation.
No, we can get to that. Everybody had like the game systems and everything, and us, we never had that. So even out of high school, I started working. So at least at that point, I had, I guess, my own pocket money. But for you to decide just on a whim, like, you know what, I'm done with this black hole. I want to go, because you didn't know that the permaculture orchard would work.
No.
So I'm done with this black hole. I want to go
and
to
create
that black
another
hole.
black hole. Yeah.
What was the thinking behind that? Because again, okay, you had me, and I'm pretty sure Eli would come and help you. And I remember Frank Tooten came and helped you as well again. So I'm assuming that was another, he liked to just get out and wanted to do something. So you were like, look, I have this land. If you want to help me, here, it's your playground. So again, you recruited / forced some I guess,
never forced, but
some labor, because you couldn't. I never got paid. So I guess that could be a thing too. If somebody, let's say, has a property, I'm sure you know somebody in your circle or around that is interested in that. Maybe entice them to come and, I don't know, pick or whatever that could help you out, and in return they get produce or an experience or whatever. That could be another thing.
Yeah. There's several, I mean, as you say, there's so many requests for people coming,
so many
wanting to help. And
now,
I really don't. Yeah, now. And it probably started about when the film came out, because word was getting around that.
Yeah.
And that's when, I remember one year that I was getting the emails. Now you get them, but I was getting the emails, and I think I counted 50 CVs, people sending in. I would want to come help. And last year we didn't have anybody through the COVID years.
You didn't have anybody.
We had the end of COVID, which was Sebastian. He was the last person who was there.
So for anybody that wants to do an internship with him, this gentleman Sebastian, okay, he's from.
No, don't tell him how to do it.
I have to. He's from Germany.
Yeah, he's from Germany.
So we went up to film one day, and it was summer / spring, and there's a tent in the ditch across the street. And I'm like, hey, Pops, I think there's a homeless person camping outside the gate. So we went, and we had gone in.
No, we were unlocking.
Yes. And so when we get there, that guy comes out of the tent, and he's like, oh, Stefan. So I don't know who this person is.
I don't know either.
Long story short, he ended up flying from Germany to the orchard. I don't even know how he got there, because he didn't have a car.
He had a bike. He biked. Yeah, he had worked someplace in Kingston, so he biked like 3 days from there
okay, I
to
didn't
the
know
farm.
That. Okay,
Yeah.
and then proceeded to camp outside because he did not want to go into the orchard or disturb you or anybody until he saw you.
Yeah, I remember seeing him, and it's like, he says, oh, I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
I said, did you call?
Did you remember
email?
a call? I didn't get an email.
No. I
just showed up.
He says, well, I'm here as long as you need me to help. And I thought,
yep.
And I wasn't expecting it at all. We were there to film, and I said, okay, listen, Sebastian.
And actually, he said he didn't want to bother him. So he was like, look, I'll stay here if you're coming back tomorrow.
I said, no, you're not camping in the ditch. First of all, I said, you could bring your things in here. And my understanding with him was, look, I'll be here on the weekend. Help me out for the weekend. I'm pretty quick at judging how people, whether they know how to work. And I mean, right there, it's striking how many people don't know how to be useful and valuable in work. Like I remember telling you guys, because I learned it and I thought, that's a really good way of seeing it. And it was the story about the three brothers. So three brothers who were working for the same company, but all three were getting paid a different salary. And the story went, the first guy, he would do the job, he was paid the least, and the conclusion was to the employer that he doesn't even do what he's asked. Like he does less than what he's asked. So that's why he got the lowest pay. The second brother, he would do just what he was asked. So he would do, you ask him, he'll do. And the third brother would do without being asked, and he would basically look for problems and he would solve them.
Before they became a problem.
Before they were really known by the owner. And I thought, yep, that's absolutely it. Because if you really want to be useful and valuable to work, you have to, the easiest way, I mean, by far the easiest way to stand out is if I wouldn't even, or maybe I noticed, oh gosh, I'm going to have to do that. And then next thing I know, I turn around, hey.
And he's doing it.
It's done. It's like that you notice because you go, oh wow, he's saving me time and effort. And he's learning. Maybe he doesn't know he's learning. Or at most, he would just ask me one question and say, hey, is there a quicker way to do this? I know I would do it this way. And then I'll just say, okay, yeah, do it like this. And so that is the three levels. Are you not even doing what you'd be asked? Are you just doing what you'd be asked? Or are you doing without being asked? And that's really all employees fit into one of those three categories. And you definitely don't want to be the lowest one. If you're the middle one, strive to be the one who does without being asked, because compensation will follow if it, in a job where you're paid, if you say, I did that, but I wasn't noticed, don't do it to be noticed. Just do it. Word will get around that, gee, that person.
And if you're not appreciated by that company, I'm sure, another company will hear about it and you'll end up getting some offers.
Yeah.
So,
or if you say, look, I got another offer from this other place.
True.
And then
the boss doesn't want to lose you.
They go, hey, you're not leaving me now because now they reckon you're valuable. I don't want to lose you now.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, now comes this big raise. How come? Well, because sometimes they figure maybe they can get away with not paying you. Well, if that's the case, then maybe it is time to go look for another one. And
I remember Sebastian was a very hard worker.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff that he did is still there and it looks great. But don't show up in a tent.
Don't show
place.
up.
That's already been done. You got to come up with something more original.
Yeah. In fact, I don't actually, we've got it set up so low maintenance, the whole farm now.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why that maintenance course is golden, because we've put the years, 30 years of thinking, how can you do this? Not just a little better, but like not do it at all. That's the best. Or do it a lot quicker. And it just ends up, it's like, we can go off on vacation. Doesn't matter. It's going to do well.
And I'll circle back around. So this vacation thing, we ended up just, again, he had no money. All the money just went back to the farm. And I didn't know because we were still young. So for summer vacation, I don't even remember what kind of van it was, but it was this really old...
A red Aerostar, I think it was called. Oh, not red. No,
it was
a green.
Yeah. Yes, but that. And he would load it up. And we would go. I remember we even went to Newfoundland and we're in Quebec. So
we went all over. We went to Manitoba.
Yeah. So basically every summer we would go to a different province. But it would, in a van, it's me, my dad, my mom, my brother, my sister. So we're 5 people, and a dog, because we had a dog at the time. So 5 people loaded up. And I remember he would be, or my parents would be like, okay, so we have, let's say, I don't know, man, $50.
No, our budget was $100 per
Was
day.
it 100?
So if we went for a week, we had $700.
Okay, yes. But
all in.
It all in is the thing. So that counts for gas. You're a kid. You don't know how much gas costs. So they would say, okay, well, we're going to take 40 for gas. So now you're left with $60. I got to eat 3 times that day. Got to find somewhere to sleep. So I remember
that was your first lessons at 100%. Understanding how to budget.
100%.
Because it was a very distinct. It was, look, I remember we'd give it to you to decide because we didn't go saying we want to go to.
Yeah, no, we never had criteria.
We just had. Yeah. We're going there. Like we're going to Manitoba, or we're going to where.
This is your Disney World. This is your Disneyland, kids. Like, here you go. Here's
and everywhere there'd be these guidebooks, and I remember Emily going through the guidebook and going, "Oh, look, there's horses. We could go horseback riding." And
yeah, it's like $100.
Yeah. So the trade-off was, look, we could do that. If we did that, then where are we going to get it from the other days?
Yes, that's what I was getting to. So we would kind of like hack, because towards the end, I guess we started to learn a little bit. So if we would go camping, a campground back then, I don't know what it is now.
It was rarely was it free, but it was usually $15 to $25.
Okay. So sometimes we would just tell them, look, let's stay here an extra night, because that gives us, let's say, $60 or $70 to do something like an excursion that's close by. So again, I never realized this when I was a kid, but I'm assuming that's what you just did with the orchard. Like, you didn't have any money, so you'd be like, okay, I'm going to prioritize things here. I'm going to cut this, and whatever I don't use here, I can put towards there, like your traps, like you were saying.
Yeah, but that's real life. I mean, that is, most people, I kind of cringe because education system does not train people or does not teach kids how to manage their finances.
No, because whenever I was with my friends growing up, nobody thought like
about that. No, you guys were very attuned early to, well, that'll cost me this much, and especially it was really driven home. Once you started to work, you very quickly realized, I don't want to spend $20 on that.
Whereas our other buddies were going out and buying new cars.
Yeah,
at 18, 19, they were going and getting a lease for a car that some of them actually still have them.
That I remember you saying, he can't put gas in his car. He can't afford the gas. It was like, wow. Yeah, those were tough lessons, but better to learn them early than to then have to make up that education later. So regardless of where you start, it doesn't matter if you say, well, my parents, look, okay, whatever they did or didn't do, don't blame them. They did what they did. It's up to you now. I'd say if you're over 15, look, you're starting to be aware. You could learn anything that you need now. If
Especially,
you say, I don't know how to deal with these credit cards. Just start doing some YouTubes, and there's enough people teaching you the basics. And like I always say, go to 3 teachers. Go with 3 people. Don't jump on the first one. Just get one point of view, a second point of view, a third point of view, and then meld them or blend them.
Take a little bit of each one that you like.
Yeah. Because not every...
I agree.
And that's the whole thing. Like, I may not be your kind of teacher. And I agree. There's a lot of people who I don't want to...
I see it all the time in the YouTube comments.
Yep, that's fine. I understand that, because maybe you learn better from a woman or a girl. Maybe you learn better from somebody who's your own age, which often happens, because I see in our YouTube stats that most of our audience is like me.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter. Go with whoever resonates with you the most. But that's why I have 3, so you can balance and not take one point. Having one point of view is never a good idea.
I agree. Like, even me in my law enforcement career, I remember training with different officers and different age groups, different trajectories, different whatever. And I would take, and I learned that from you, but I would take like, okay, I like how he dealt with this one take it like a tool, put it in a toolbox. Completely different call, get on scene, different officer, training officer. Oh, I like that. Take that little thing. Third officer, it doesn't go well. Okay, I don't like that. So even if it's a negative, I was constantly learning and just tailoring it for how I deal with situations. And now I get on scene, and for those, I'm not a very big guy in stature, but I'm good at talking. So I talk my way out of a lot of situations where most people, they come to me afterwards and they're like, how did you do that?
Yeah, and even the guys who are much bigger than you
100%.
are like, you handled that it was like you totally diffused that situation.
But it's just picking up those tidbits from every person. Even if I know how to do something and you're coming to me and offering to show me a different way, the first way I did it worked, but maybe the way that he's going to show me is even better. Why would I not? I feel like so many people, myself included, when I was younger, I knew everything. But when you take a step back and you realize like, oh, this guy's been doing this job for 25 years. Like, I just started. I'm 2 years in. Why would I not let him explain to me how he does it and then just adapt it to the way that
right.
Like, I feel like every day we can learn something new, regardless of what it is. I don't know if you'd be proud of me, but I learned how to hard boil an egg yesterday. I YouTubed it.
Yep.
But I'd never done it before. So I had to YouTube how to hard boil an egg.
Yep.
And I actually looked at 3 different videos.
That whole learning journey, I mean, that's where we're getting around and we're saying about time versus money. So know where you're at. Do you have lots of, like nowadays, I'm buying trees now because you know what? I can afford it and I'll trade the money for the time. I 100%. Don't want to wait 2 more years to get that tree because I want that tree and I want to start growing it and seeing the results from it. So you have to know where you're at. It isn't a bad thing to have replaced money with time. It wasn't for me now, because a lot of what I learned was just because I didn't have the money. So I had to learn, how can I do this on the cheap? And the one thing about doing things, I'm not saying being cheap about it, but doing things in a way that is really economical or low cost, because there's always a more expensive solution. There's always a way, hey, look at this, for this amount of money, you'll have that solution. But it's pretty common to say, okay, that solution cost me $100. But there is a $10 solution. Because what I've seen, and I've seen it in my own life, I've bought things that I realized, yeah, that's not really, that doesn't really work, or it doesn't work for me. And so now what I do, especially, and this is a good lesson if you're thinking about doing anything relating to farming or even in a homestead or a big garden, you say, oh yeah, I need this tool or I need this piece of equipment or something.
To go and rent it?
Rent it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Always. Because you may rent it and go, yeah, that's not a great idea.
Or you thought you would use it way more than you actually would, when in fact, instead of dropping, I don't know, thousands of dollars on one thing, you're able to rent it and you use it for a couple days and you're like, well, I don't need it anymore.
Yep, that's it. And what people, I mean, I've always been focused a lot on the tax consequence, but if you rent something, you deduct 100%. If you buy something that costs over, depending what item it is, but let's say it's over $500, you can't deduct the full $500 this year. It's depreciated. So it's like, well, if I rent it for $50, I deduct the full $50 this year. And so renting versus buying on a short term as a test to know, is this going to be good? Or then you go, you know what? It's kind of good, but it's just not enough. It's not big enough. Then at least well, okay, now to buy the tool that I really would need, yeah, that's a lot. And so it helps to clarify things. Quick test. If you're learning and you're doing quick tests, it's always going to be beneficial. I mean, that's what, like I was saying in the maintenance course for masterclass, it's so much of it is the results of quick tests, trying something, refining it and
Yeah.
the evolution of it over the years. Yeah,
Like the traps.
it seems so simple. And this, actually, I haven't made any for years, and we do sell them, but I haven't sold any many people have asked, and if you're somebody who's asked, I'm sorry, I haven't made a batch of them. I think I sold a few times used ones, because to make a batch, I would have to make 500 in a go.
You sell both of the traps, or you just sell the
I just sell
ones?
these, because those, honestly, shipping you used oil containers, it's like...
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it's just try it, adjust, refine. The other thing is observation. If you're learning, observation is probably the skill that can save you the most time, most time. And one example was those when I used to paint the trees, because we get snow, and when the snow hits and reflects off, when the sun shines and reflects off the snow,
basically burns. It's like
it
a
burns.
sunburn.
It's a sun scald, so it scalds the bark, and the bark dries up and actually splits off the tree.
How did you ever think about painting them white? Just
because that's what people used to do.
Okay.
Years back, they would paint them with a lime wash. So it was a dual purpose. So it reduced the sun scald, and it reduced the amount of insects, because insects didn't want to walk through the lime in the spring. And you could still do that, and it would still be a way. But for us, it wasn't so much the insects as the sun scald. And that was just... while painting, while you're doing something, you ever do something like
you got a long time
drudgery,
to think.
The grunt work.
You got a long time.
You got time to think. And it was about 4 days a year to paint all the trees. So that was like 4 days. And again, maintenance, 4 days a year. It adds up.
Almost a vacation.
Almost a vacation, yeah. There's more vacation time that would go. That's why I got so much more time nowadays.
Well, at least one of us does.
Yeah. And so it was through painting and observing that there was one tree that I never would paint, because it was all caught up in a couple of shrubs. And I was like, yeah, I can't get in there anyway, so I'll just leave it. And if it's sun scalds, well. And after a few years of painting and realizing, okay, here's a tree that I forgot to paint or whatever, but it would get sun scald, and the tree right next to it that was protected and surrounded by the shrubs. I thought, how come that one never gets sun scald? So the observation is, how come that one doesn't, and the one next to it did? What's the difference? Well, this one's in the shrub, and the shrub provides a little bit of shading on the bark. And thinking, that was it was a red osier dogwood growing around it. And it was like, that's not a crop shrub, but it was just a shrub. And I thought, what if we planted shrubs that we would want, which is part of the permaculture orchard design, put shrubs and put them southwest of the tree, which is the absolute orientation for the worst sun scald. So it's called southwest disease here, because that's where it happens, on the southwest side of the tree, as the sun's setting and it really warms up the bark. And it was like, I could put black currant, or I could put a red currant, or I could put a gooseberry at the base of the tree, shading it in the afternoon sun. And then after a year or two, when the shrub has grown up enough, I wouldn't have to paint. And sure enough, long story short, there it is.
I didn't even know that.
We've done that, and that's one of the reasons using shrubs, but it's like a dual purpose. We get a crop, but that shrub, because of where it's placed, it's
Saves
actually
you a
doing
whole bunch of time.
Saving me. And that's 4 days every year. So it's like, okay, we plant the shrub once. It actually gets better with time because it gets bigger, and then we prune it. But we actually prune shrubs after the snow melts, so that it's the fullest at the critical time, and then snow melts, and then we can prune the shrub. So it's like, okay, we get both. We get the shrub, we get the production, we get the protection. So that's where observation can really save you time.
Working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
I like it.
And that's part of that whole learning. That means learn if you really want to speed up your learning and really save at every step, because we've got it for, you're just thinking about this, it's a dream in the future, to I'm in it, I've got all these trees planted. We've got you covered in the master class, and there's 11 courses that cover it. Go check it out. You could start any of the courses for free. Just start them. See if this is something. See if I could help you in this. Because my goal is what I would have loved to have had. If you're thinking of this, even if it's something that, maybe in 5 years, boy, if you're ready when you need to be going, I mean, it's not going to be 20 years of brutal.
No.
And that's why I say now, I really recommend that people have annual crops. So annual could be vegetable crops, which is annual. You plant in the spring. I mean, there's a few that are biannual, like kale. You could get over winter and harvest the second year and so on. But most of them are annual. You plant in the spring or in summer and you harvest summer or fall. Or you put in animals or. So having chickens with eggs, having broilers, raising some ducks, whatever there would be a market for you, that's an annual. You could have it where you don't have to keep any animals over the winter. You get them in the spring, raise them. We used to do a lot with lambs.
Yeah.
You could do that as well. And I wouldn't put lambs in a young orchard, but you could, depending on what land is like, you could start with annual things. And the nice thing is the brutal years is made up by a lot of time and money put in to get your orchard, to get your trees going while they are not producing. So you've got this drought where you're putting money in and nothing's really coming out, or never enough is coming out. But if you bridge that gap with annual things, like, and then put in some perennial things, plant some raspberries, plant some strawberries around your trees, and in 2 years, those are already producing. Your first trees may be producing in the third year. It's not going to be a full crop, but it will be something. And then as it goes on, when you hit 5 years, you should have your first full crop on some of your trees at least. And so that will help bridge the gap and get you started. And you start your marketing and you start selling. I'm expecting, and I really recommend, unless you're really not in the good location, and we touch that all in marketing, if you could direct sell your produce, starting with annual things is a great way, because it's like,
especially nowadays, I feel like there's so many higher end restaurants or markets that are looking for that kind of produce in particular. And now there's just so many more people than when you started that are willing to pay for that quality of food. Because that's another thing. I remember the dark days. We used to go and you'd have people that maybe it just wasn't as accepted, but like because you're growing organic, the fruit wasn't perfect. So not only when you're producing, but then you had to deal with those kind of people too. And I remember just that must have been an extra headache.
Well, and again, it was a headache, but that's what shaped the whole thing to going back to membership.
Yeah.
So this way, I know who the customers are.
And they know what to expect.
And they know what to expect.
Yeah.
And we're in communication. It's not just show up and pick. No, I don't want just, I did that. And that's where,
I remember those.
Yeah. People would come, oh, this isn't perfect like in the store.
Yep.
No, it's not. Doesn't mean organic can't be higher quality, but we were still learning. And there was I remember buying apples because we had, well, at that point, we probably had 3,000 trees, but we didn't have enough eating quality apples. All our apples would go for juice because it didn't really matter the quality, but the quality for eating was just not there, and we would buy apples. It was like, we got all these trees and we're buying apples. That's pretty sad, but that's the learning curve. If you don't know, you don't know.
Another really important thing too is you're talking about like the learning curve. Just learning how to, I guess, work with that amount of, or that budget or lack thereof. Now that it is successful, it's kind of a blessing in disguise because he doesn't really spend more necessarily than you did back then. So now you're making an influx, but you're still spending I would say pretty much the same as you were. Okay, with a couple of exceptions, but I mean, in general, because you did so many years with such a low budget. I mean, you guys, if you're watching the videos, you'll see the way that he's dressed now. It's because we buy him his clothes. Otherwise, like, there's no, I go out and I buy this, I go and I buy that. You're very, I don't want to say frugal. I just want to say, like, you don't flaunt, or you're so good with the amount of money that you need to spend on your essentials, as you call it, that there's no need to go and buy over that.
Well, one of the things that those brutal years helped shape was being comfortable with less. I mean, we just
100%.
learned to get comfortable. You could want, but you can't afford. So it's like, okay, what do I need? And that was an important period to, I can remember meditating on him, you know, that understanding that distinction between, do I need that or do I want that?
Yeah.
And then learning gradually, okay, what does it mean to need it? Like, what do we really need? When we come down to, let's say, bare bones, what do you need?
Food, shelter.
Food, shelter, and something to dress.
For sure.
Like, that's what you need. You say, oh, no, I need a new pickup truck. I need a... No, you want. And there's a lot of things we just want. And we think, no, I need that. Well, no, you don't need a new one. And I mean, for years we had every used vehicle.
Yep.
And I bought 2 over all those years just because it was the absolute cheapest.
Yeah.
When you get into financial, not that us, but the whole economy goes into a nosedive, dealers would be begging people to buy. And there would be all kinds of manufacturer rebates. I remember buying one brand new vehicle, the Budgie, which was a Geo Metro.
A yellow Geo Metro.
Yellow Geo Metro, $7,000 cash, because I wouldn't buy it on financing. And that saved, because then I didn't pay the borrowing cost. But
which was weird, because now it's completely changed. Like, my brother and I, because we just learned from him, we'll go into a dealership and want to pay cash. And now it's changed. No. They don't want me to pay cash.
Yeah,
they want me to finance, so that they make X amount on the financing and everything. So in that regard, it's changed. But growing up like that, you mold it, because it wasn't like you were telling us to do something and then going and doing the complete opposite. You would explain it to us, but then we grew up seeing it.
Yeah,
like you weren't saying, son, I don't have money to buy your shoes, and then go out and buy a new TV. You know what I mean? Like, you talk the talk and you walk the walk.
Yeah. And when I did buy something, it was because,
well,
like you say, a lot of times it was bought for me, because it's like, you need
his shoes are falling apart, or his, yes.
Yeah. So it was, I would forsake what I thought I would forsake me to be able to put it into the farm. That's why I called it the black hole, because money was going
Everything was going to
and
that.
We would make money every year, but it was never enough to cover all the expenses, because you're learning, and learning is expensive. And that's why I think, like, even the masterclass, some people would say it's expensive. It's only expensive if you don't know how much learning will cost you.
Yeah.
And in that sense, and when we were talking with Billy Bond last time on his podcast, he said, this is the best deal.
Yeah.
Because you don't realize, when you've done it, you realize, wow, this would cost me a lot. And
we spoke about it too, like the pricing for the courses, because you sell them individually. Yeah. We decided to come up with a figure that it's not an exorbitant amount, because we could charge a lot more, but we needed everybody to have, like, skin in the game.
Yeah.
Because if we're just going to hand you the keys to the kingdom, you're going to watch it, but I don't think you're going to act. Because I've done that too, where I'll pay, I don't know, $20 for I don't know, a book or something. I don't even read it. Or I'll start it and I'm just like, okay. But if I have more skin in the game, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna read it twice, because
Well, one of the things was that expression, are you going to pay attention? And it's interesting how you pay attention. And why is the word paying? Because you've paid, now you're going to pay attention. And I've seen it because I've taught this stuff on 3 continents, and I've done courses for all different levels and so on. And I've seen that the places where, and I would say the most extreme is a lot of times in Europe, where there are so many subsidies for farmers, where they didn't appreciate, like they don't appreciate, because the course was free for them. Mm-hmm. They had no skin in the game. They did not pay. So they didn't pay attention. And they, as you said, they probably very few of them actually implemented what they had learned. Mm-hmm. So what I've realized is, you know what? Make it that it's a little bit of, for some of you, it's a lot, it's too much maybe of a sacrifice. But on average, I think there would be enough of a sacrifice to get it so that now you're invested. Yeah. Now you're going to make sure you get value out of that course.
Mm-hmm. You're going to go to the monthly meetings when we meet up with everybody. You're going to... Yep, I agree 100%.
And that, to me, that's it. Because I know that it's a long journey. It's not, I'm going to do this and it's done in a month. No. Even if you planted it in a month, it's not over. Are you going to maintain it? So it's a long journey. And if you're not going to do what you need to do, then maybe don't even start.
Yeah.
And I remember Sean, I don't know if you remember, Sean came with Alex the year. That's 2 interns. And Sean was there and he realized, you know what? He said, the best thing about this internship is I thought I wanted to do this. And now I realize I don't want to do this. This is way more work than what I thought. He had a desk job. He was good at what he did, but he just thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. And that's good. If it helps you know that, you know what, I tried and I realized it's not for me. Yep. And that's why I always come back to just start, and just start with 2 trios. Because what you'll learn by putting in 2 trios, and if you don't know what trios is, dig into our other YouTube videos. And it's really just, you're going to put in 3 trees and then another set of 3 trees and 2 fruit trees and a nitrogen fixer, or fruit tree, nut tree, different combinations. But just put 2 trios in and you'll learn as much with those 2 trees as if you did hundreds, but it will cost you a lot less. Probably you have room to do it in your yard if you have a yard, or if you could do it at your parents' yard. And if they really don't like it, hey, you could cut them down. You don't have a lot invested to do that test, but you will start learning and you'll start seeing and you'll start experiencing the cycles of the tree and how it grows and everything. So it really is that whole learning journey, because it's not just, I learned, no, because a lot of it, unless you apply it, you know it, but you didn't learn it. And there is a difference in the depth of how much you know it.
And that's why it goes back to, like I said in the beginning, hopefully it's something like you're saying, less skin in the game, but it's not like you're going to school, paying a ton of money, and then you get your piece of paper and you're like, I don't really like this. It's not for me.
And it's a lot less than even a semester at any kind of school. So being comfortable with less, there's a couple other things on that. For years, I remember doing taxes and it was like, wow, we're actually living below the poverty level. And for years, it was like that. And it was like, but what does that mean? Well, with the farm, we always had a garden. So in season, and we'd raise some animals, some years more than others. So
I remember eating lamb for,
we were eating,
I want to say, over a year.
2 years. I don't like, was 2 years we had lamb.
I don't like lamb anymore.
Yeah, we used to say, hey, it's lamb burgers.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm going to Matthew's house for supper.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was part of it. So we had our own food. It was great food. And you think, well, how much do you need? And if you have a yard, Start a garden. If you have a sunny spot that would grow, if you have at least 8 hours a day of sun in the yard, put in some vegetables. Learn growing some vegetables even. Or if you want to do more, use that space to start your nursery, because you'll learn. You don't say, I don't know anything about it. Well, watch some videos. If you get to the point where you really would benefit from the propagation course, that was what it's for. It's to get you set up in your nursery and being able to grow anything that you would need in a permaculture orchard. So one thing you tend to do is when you get used to living with less, you tend to keep those habits. It's a habit. I don't need to, but I still do. Does that mean I'm cheap? No, but one thing they pointed out to me when we went to a restaurant, what was it, last year, 2 years ago?
It still blows my mind, but yeah.
It shocked you both, and it was like, I ordered a lemonade.
No. That's not what shocked. Well, that did shock me. Yes. But the thing that shocked me is he turned to me and my brother and asked us if we also wanted a lemonade. And I've never seen him offer to buy anything other than water, because it's normally free here. Yeah.
And that's not being cheap. It's like, are you going to have a pop? I'm not saying anything that you shouldn't have a pop, but it was, if you want, we'll buy some cans and we can have them at home. But
we were the family that would sneak in the snacks to the movie theater, because they would. Oh
yeah, that's true.
They would like upcharge us. I don't know how much. I agree with you now, but when you're a kid, you're like, what do you mean? Like, I can't just have a popcorn? And you'd be like, no, I already popped it at home.
Did we ever treat you to anything?
I'm sure you did, but actually maybe not, because I feel like I would have remembered.
Probably ice cream. Yeah, that's the one place I wouldn't skimp on, was probably getting ice cream.
But all that to say that I'm very fortunate now, looking back at how I was brought up versus, if I got everything just handed to me. So in some weird way, your dark times ended up being my bright times, and I think I'm doing pretty good because of it.
A couple last things I wanted to touch on. One was the mindset that you need to go through the brutal years. It really will develop a mental toughness, because you're going to know, are you going to be able to persevere through this? Is this something? And you will hit moments. If you want, go see my I Want to Quit video on YouTube. And that was a moment. And there's moments just thinking of that time. It's like, whoa, yeah, that's tough. And I cannot even understand why in farming there's such a high rate of suicide, because it can be those brutal years, and they're years, they're not just moments. They can be brutal. Like, things don't work, and they never happen isolated. It's not just one thing isn't working.
Yeah, what do they say? Things come in threes.
They come in bundles, and it's almost like they're coming to attack you as a pack. And so that you'll have to know, and farmers are a unique breed of tough. Like, there's a reason why they're the ones who were the pioneers and homesteaders. And the newest movement of homesteaders, I just see some titles of videos, we're quitting this, or we're stopping this. It's not for everyone. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, we're going to go.
That looks fun.
We're going to go live in the country. It'll be great. We'll grow our own food. Yeah.
It's a reality check.
A reality check. And we have a program here in Quebec that allows young couples to check out regions. And this is outside of the metro, really out in the country, in rural areas. And they were telling, because a few of my interns have been through that, looking for land and looking for places in new regions to set up, because it's so much cheaper than anything near a city. And those people would always tell them, we know very clearly that there's a 2-year cutoff. If the new couple that have come into a region, if they can make it past the 2 years, chances are they're going to stay. Because the first time they go, hey, let's get takeout. No takeout around here. Let's order out. There is no ordering out. No. Let's go to there is no restaurant. I mean, there's places.
Uber won't even let you download their app.
Yeah, there is no Amazon deliveries. You could be in a place where, no, sorry, you're outside a cell reception. away from it. And a lot of times people, homestead. Well, what do you think, homesteaders? Go back 150 years. You know what a life of a homesteader was? I was reading the history of our region at the farm, and wow, homesteading was brutal. It started off, the person would go in the spring, because they had no place. No, they would actually go in the late winter, where they would just set up a tent and they would start cutting wood, because it was all forested areas. So they would cut wood in the winter. They would cut enough logs that they could build a little house. And they would cut enough wood, often in that area, it was to make potash. And you think, well, potash, it's mined. Well, no, it's called potash because they would cut trees, they would pile them, they would burn them, and then they would shovel the ash into barrels, and they would sell barrels of potash as fertilizer. So that was kind of their economy. That's how they made any kind of money. And in the meantime, then they'd have cleared enough land that in the spring they could sow a first little crop of some grain, enough to hopefully make some bread and feed a few animals over winter. And they would, all summer, they would be building their house so that hopefully by fall or by the next winter, they would have a shelter that now they could bring the wife and the rest of the family.
Live in it, yeah.
I mean, this was not modern day homesteading where you come in and now let's film our journey and we'll make our money from YouTube. No, this was a very, very different. And I mean, the number of people who died, if you got injured, if you got pinned by a tree because you're cutting everything with an axe, maybe a saw, and people would just get pinned, like the tree falls wrong and comes back and pins your leg against a rock or against the next tree. Now you got a 5-ton tree pushing you against the other tree, and people would just die. It's not like, oh yeah, my neighbor's gonna, there is no neighbor. You're out there. And so it's a real reality check that today, if you want to homestead, it's still so much easier. At least you have a road probably to your property. Maybe you don't. But if most places do have some kind of road, there's so much that's already easier.
But I feel like that's why, like you were saying with the YouTube thing, that's why there's so much interest for it. Because you have people that maybe that's something they want to do, but they know deep down, like, I don't know if I'm
it allows them to live vicariously through the adventures of someone else.
Exactly.
I mean, I've always told you guys, if we ever had whatever crisis, I mean,
we just go to the farm.
We're fine. I mean, when we had an ice storm for 2 weeks where there was no power, no nothing, and people were leaving their houses because the house was freezing and the pipes were bursting and everything else, it was like, we're good.
But I feel like that too is kind of a generation thing. Like, I don't know.
You don't know if you would?
I really don't.
Camping wasn't enough. Yeah, I've seen.
And I feel like I'm better suited than a lot of people my age.
You definitely are a lot better, but still, a lot of people have.
I think I'm surviving maybe 2 weeks.
I just look
if that,
your freezer, and it's like you got nothing stored. I mean, you got nothing. We got probably enough for 2 people anyway, 6 months at any one time. Like,
I have absolutely nothing.
We're okay.
Bachelor fridge. I got some water and some condiments
and that came from your grandparents on, and your mother's side, but also from my parents. They went through the war.
Yeah.
And I remember growing up, the biggest thing was the cold room. It was a 13-foot freezer or 12-foot freezer. And then there was bins of potatoes that would be usually 2 to 3 tons of potatoes for the year. And then on the back wall was about 5 shelves of everything canned, pickles and tomatoes and whatever, everything from the garden. And I remember my job was picking strawberries. And you think, oh yeah, strawberries. I mean, a burp like that would have been every day, because I've eaten all the strawberries I could eat, but now I still have to pick. And it was picking mountains of strawberries.
That's it. It's just different generations. You want to talk about the dark times? That was the dark times. So now.
Yeah. Or for me, it was just the goal was, can I go a whole week without having to get anything other than what I catch or find? And it was like, I could go for a whole week, just what I catch and shoot and dig. So yeah, I got used to surviving is not a problem. So the mindset is important. Do you have any bit of tools? Do you have that resilience? You will hit brutal times. You will hit hard times. You only know when you're in it.
100%.
But when you're in it, yeah, it's make or break. And what I found was I didn't imagine how brutal that could be. But I've learned that, you know what? It's almost like you're not submitted to the full impact at any one time. You're submitted to steps. It's like, this is brutal. Go through that. And then the next one is, oof, this is brutal. But you're already your baseline. So you start off, you think this is, and then you go through something and that's brutal there. And then you go through and next thing you know, this one is brutal here. And then, you know what? Like, so now I'm okay with tornado would go through, fire would go through, vandals would cut the whole orchard, whatever. It's like, that would suck. But you know what? It's not the end of the world. You realize what wealth is not what you have. It's, well, what you have a lot in terms of, are you healthy? How is your family relationships? Do you have good food? I mean, if you have those three, you think, well, I don't have the fancy car or the fancy clothes or this or that. Or,
but I get what you're saying, because even me, I see it. Let's say you inherit all your money and you go broke one snap. Or you grew up with nothing and you built it all and then you go broke. It sucks. You're both broke, but having done it the first time, you're going to get back, if not more than what
you learned that the hard way. 100%. Your first business venture where you...
I lost tens of thousands of dollars. And I was faced with the same thing as you. Do I quit? Or, you know what? It took me, let's say, 5 years to make that. I worked all kinds of hours, lost it. Bad business deal. That's on me. I could have been there and everyone was telling me like, oh, you should lawyer up and do this. That 100% could have been a route. Or this is on me. I did it once. I know now how I got it. Let's take all of that and get it back. And I did it within what? A year, I think.
Yep.
Well, I sacrificed for sure, but because I had already done it and I didn't just get it given to me, I was able to like exponentially make that back. Whereas it took me years the first time.
Yep. That's where people underestimate what you learn on that journey. Like us, it was the nursery. What we learned in the nursery experience the first time meant the second time was like,
it still sucks, but
it's so much easier.
Yeah.
And each time, what you've learned, you don't lose it. And that's what one of the keys is you've learned it. And your baseline's gone up. Your tolerance has gone up. Your tolerance to pain, your tolerance to harshness, your tolerance to the brutal parts.
Yeah.
It goes up. It goes up. So you grow as your project advances. So that it's like, well, you know what? Let's start something that maybe there'll be a few more brutal things because you feel like you need a little bit of harshness. You need a little bit of tough times because, you know, now things are very easy and like, what can we do that makes it a little harder?
Or a little uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable is a good one. Yeah. Because, gosh, you know, I was thinking of that. What we have that we don't even stop to think twice. Oh, you have running water. Who doesn't have?
We all take that for granted.
Yeah, who doesn't have running water? Do you have hot running water? Oh my God, that's a luxury. Kings in the past, they didn't have that. What do you have? You just touch a button probably, and you've got heat.
What are you talking about?
Wow.
I order food off my phone.
You can order food on your phone.
Like,
yeah. You have a phone?
I have a phone.
Like so many things that we just
take for granted.
Like, stop and inventory. Just like stop and think, what can I be thankful for? Because a lot of times you're complaining about something that you don't even realize
so minimal.
How privileged you are and how like there's safety nets in society, meaning what? they won't let you starve. In the past, look, you don't have, starvation was a real present threat. You get sick, you're going to die. Well, chances are you probably won't die now. And things that people took very serious. I remember my mother would be super concerned about getting blood poisoning because in Europe, when she was growing up, people died all the time. Well, people died from something as simple as her biggest scare for me was that I would step on a rusty nail when I was building my third house. And it was like, you're taking all this wood from our barn that has all these rusty nails. You could step on a nail and get blood poisoning. And well, now it's like, you just go get a course of antibiotics. Yeah, but antibiotics is not something that's always been around. People would get blood poisoning and it would kill them. So many things. You get an appendix burst. That used to be a serious cause of death. So much has become easier that, you know what? Having a project like this that gives you some harshness maybe in your life, that gives you some brutal things, that raises up your mental toughness is important. And physical toughness. I mean, geez, people, a lot of times, you use the gym a lot, but only because that's your biggest form of exercise. And it's like a forced exercise. In season, I don't need no gym. I mean, I get plenty with the farm. I'm starting now with pruning season and it goes on through the seasons. So that's something that you think, well, yeah, your physical fitness, and take it for granted. But if you're injured, you realize, wow, I had 3 times a rotator cuff tear. And the third time I was out for 6 months. I mean, I had one arm, basically. The other arm was not useful at all. And that's where you go, wow, there's a lot of things I can't do now. You know, try pruning with one arm. It's it's not obvious.
Yeah.
So if you have your health, and stay safe. That's why in the pruning course we have, that's from experience, lessons on pruning safely, because safety and avoiding injury is really important. You only notice when you're injured how important this is. So it's a lot of lessons learned along the way.
But I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Basically, because like I say every time, he's just going to keep rambling. But when you go through the dark times, because everybody has it no matter where you are, like he said before, it's important to just take a step back, I think, and reflect on how far you've come and the fact that you were able to get over it. That being said, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Good job, Pops.